Yeah, look at that. That's like a preform. It should be 3 times as big, but look how little it is. And it's all air. That's a weird one. Well, I was calling that. See, that looks like a tiny little tool or blade. But what it is, I misidentified. See, it's broke right there. And it's another one of them preforms. I mean, there's thousands of them there. The little teardrop shaped blade. That's what that is. That stinks. One ear's gone in the tip. You can see the notch. Another broken one. Yeah, see, that's some kind of like sod. Well, you can't really tell. It's hard to tell what you'd have had to see all that. Too bad. Yeah, see, that's the river cobble cortex. Now look at that. It's all breaking open. And it's worked into a little like chisel tip. That's kind of cool. Right there, I'll show it to you. Too bad. It's an Amos. Yeah, see, there's that little point. It's been used. You see, it's a lot of use, and the tip's gone. That's one that they've really, well, put to use. Too bad it's broke. I'm in a different fire pit here. It's small. It goes back in there 3 feet. I'm going to dig it all, and I'm raking it. Busted my knuckles. But right there's another preform, look, with the river cobble cortex, like a blank for an artifact. See, the cortex on this, it's a preform, but this is one that was discarded. They started thinning this down, and see, there's bad inclusions in this, and it's unworkable. See, they took a flake off here, they were trying to thin it down, and it got to the point where there's no sense to continue, so it just got tossed. Well, I'd say 90% something's going to come out of there. When I'm seeing flakes, raking flakes out of the wall, I usually find an artifact. That means there's a bunch of stuff. It's loaded. Well, I got a different kind of point that's really water worn, like, and it looks like a Kirk stemmed right there. See, man, that's really like polished, like, look at it. Wow, that's nice. I'd say that's a Kirk stemmed. See the edge work? That's a beautiful point. Well, see, that's that black. I just found an Amos point that was broke that has that tin inclusion in the black flint. And right here, right out of the same fire pit, is a classic Kirk stemmed. See the bevel? A lot of them have a bevel. You see it. See the bevels on it? It's a very classic Kirk point. And that can be 9,000 years old. Right in with those big sandy broad bases. And we'll look at some points here in this book. But this is the Overstreet God, the Indian Arrowheads. You can buy them on Amazon. There's even newer editions than this. And it's the best book. It doesn't matter what state you're in or who wrote books. This is the best. It just is. Anything you find is going to be in it. But you see here, right there. See the base on this? It says a medium to large size barbed stem point with deep notches and fine serrations along the blade edges. The stem is parallel to expanding. The stem sides may be steeply beveled on opposite faces, which that one is. Some examples also have a distinct bevel on the right side of each blade edge. The base can be concave, convex, or straight, and can be very short. Right there. That's what it is. See? Right there, out of the same fire pit yesterday, right around where I dug this out. Look, the tan inclusion right in the black flint like that. And that's very unique. And you see, buy the Kirk point. Buy it, just like it was by the big sandy broad bases. There's a lot of speculation involved in these point types. You know, especially the Amos point. But there's a lot of points that look like Amos points. You know, a serrated corner notch point, Kirks, all of that. You start looking overall what I've dug. These are in situ fire pits. Kirk stems, big sandy broad bases like this with more of a concave base and basal thinning. Say the contracted base kind of, but not really that contracted. with the basal thinning. Now look at this point right here. If I would find this serrated point here with this concave base on one of them, I'd be calling that an Amos, but that's a big sandy. And then you get over here into the big sandy E-notched, which, how many times have I talked about the Amos points that I find? And you see right there, look at that. Looks a lot like an Amos point, and you notice how I've talked in the past about the one E-notch with the nipple in the middle of the notch on the Amos points, on the classic ones. They don't usually, one notch is rounded, but you know, these points are from Alabama, Tennessee. You know, I'm in the northern panhandle of West Virginia where there's really been no archaeology done like this. Nobody's ever really dug the amount of digging I've done into these early archaic sites. I think these Amos points are older than the 4,700 whatever radiocarbon date off the Canal River, and they might not even be true Amos points. I think some stuff's getting misidentified here, and you can see by what I'm finding around it. You know, hell, out of the first fire pit, a stemmed late Paleo lancelet made of black Canal of Flint came out of the same layer with the serrated points, in situ. And the stuff isn't jumbled. There's nutting stones laying in there, and some of the fire pits are even circular. They're just packed in time, and it's an archaeological treasure trove. So what are we into here? If I'd find this point on that site, what would I be calling that? Some kind of an Amos? But you know, there's variation over time and distance, and you know, these points are from far away. Who's to say that the classic ones around here don't have one rounded notch and one E-notch? Finding that Kirk just adds, you know, the dates. You know, there's some stuff here that's not exactly on the up and up, so I got to figure it out. All those old points ain't around Amos points, but so are those really Amos points. I think a lot of the stuff that we got into here is just, you know, people naming points in different areas, and not every archaeologist that did the work back in the 50s and 60s was an expert and knew what they were doing. And all radiocarbon dates, you know, you get back pre-80 and 1980 and you start reading this stuff, who knows if they're accurate? You understand? So this, we know more about deep space right now than the peopling of North America. And I dig and look at everything and try. It might take 20 years to get a good consensus on what I have, what those serrated points really are. The worst thing here on this platform is the guys that think they're experts, the point typology guys that are throwing dates out there and haven't done any field work ever. The worst guy is the guy that puts his name on a book and has walked cornfields for 20 years and wants everybody to believe he's an expert. There's a lot of BS in this field. A lot of people that are full of crap and have not done the digging. Alright, this is stuff that's come all right out in that area. See, the classic big sandy broad base, serrated too, that's, you know, then these serrated points, and I just found this translucent point. When I found it, I said, that don't look as much like the Amos, the classic Amos. It looks more like a Kirk. And now, right a little farther in the fire pit, Kirk stem that's just, can't not call it that, it's just classic, with those serrated points in the same fire pit. So you look at the age of this stuff, pre or post Kirk horizon on the Amos point. Well, I'm finding them right in a fire pit, if you're calling them Amoses, with Kirks and big sandies. And it's an in situ fire pit. This is kind of confusing me. This is phenomenal. Well, you're at a disadvantage if you ever find a day that you'd rather be doing something else than this, because I'd stay here all day every day. There's nothing in this world I would rather be doing than this right here, straight up. And I'd go at it like it's the 7th game of the World Series every trip. I mean it. I dig to exhaustion. When I leave here, I'm barely going to be able to walk to the truck. I'm going to go mow, take a break, go sit on the tractor and relax and drink some cola, mow for my mom, go home and relax and eat, and come back. Do this all day. I love it. Look here, folks. My little buddy's ready to go in. Look, he's tired. Hiding his face in my hand there. Look here. Well, good hunt. I got all my mowing done. And I'm going to eat lunch and relax a little bit and go back and try to find some more Kirks. I hope you enjoyed this one. That's a nice point. Give some context to what I'm finding with them big sandies and all this stuff. That's old stuff. All month.